In an average office visit, which is about 12 minutes, not mine, but an average office visit in the United States, 12 minutes, it's impossible to put together a diet. And I don't like the word diet to begin with. I think it's so ubiquitous with people trying to initiate change. I'll accept that. However, I call it a nutrition practice because it should be initiated, it should be carried through, it should be reconstructed at a certain point in time. I don't think anybody should maintain a diet for a long amount of time because just the word diet already is connotated with something's being taken away. And I guarantee you, during the times when your constitution is weakest and temptation is highest, you're going to think, I deserve that, screw it, I want my old stuff back. So, I mean, the basic building blocks are there in history. In fact, if you look at, you got to read, no question. I've got an army of people, patients, that have been able to make changes, myself included. I use the grocery as my pharmacy. If I have to go get pharmacy stuff, I'll get it, but reluctantly. I'll always try to find a way to change around what I'm ailing from natural means, whether it's acupuncture, yoga, mindful practice, or food. But the longer we wait with the disease process, the more anchored the disease process is, the harder it's going to be to use the groceries or pharmacy. Sometimes you'll have to get to the pharmacy and get medicines to control your disease process, but again, you got to keep on chipping away at a perfect lifestyle for you so that eventually medicine's off, grocery backed as being the primary pharmacy. But I'm going to take you through a little journey here. But with this army, these are my bullets, so I'll go through them now. The bullets are information from other authors in the past. You know, old school always trumps every other study. Randomized controlled trials are important, but if you look at old school information's out there. We just kind of tend to ignore it. Whether it's Walter Willett and his creation of the food pyramid, or new school Andy Weil and his anti-inflammatory diet, I think that it's important to just take the concepts, understand them, and with all the authors, you should be able to come up with your own way. Things that used to be popular in the past are still kind of popular. I mean, it's really kind of cool to see some of the concepts that great authors have come up with. Even Pritikin, which is kind of the opposite of a carb restrictive diet. Pritikin is pretty interesting. Concepts are solid. In fact, all these things I'm going to show you, concepts are solid. They make a very good argument or case in point, but you just have to see if it refers to you. And with all the authors I'm going to go through, including the conspiracy guys, now I'm saying that facetiously, but there's great information out there, whether it's Grain Brain or Wheat Belly. Arona's great information. I like this guy out of New York. Good information about when to take in protein, macronutrients. Protein hits, mostly vegetarian. The paleo guys, I know this is a huge one now for a lot of folks trying to lose weight, especially like CrossFit athletes. Again, power to you. If it works for you, cool. I'd always say reassess and see. I'm just giving you information on what I've gone through and what I have to go through to design sustainable changes for my patients. Again, the information is the bullets. That's the result. The army is stronger and stronger. Now, we always have to follow randomized controlled trials, double-blind, placebo. So that's the way doctors work. We have to go with evidence-based medicine to figure out what's best for our population of patients. But again, the ecological fallacy is that as doctors we do that, but then we take statistics, average statistics, and apply it to the individual. So if I have somebody with pancreatic cancer, likelihood is going to die. Don't do anything, just have a good life. Take care of pain, get your finances in order. That's unacceptable. I think we always have to give hope. So even if, as I mentioned, even if I give medicines to control blood pressure, to control the arthritis while we get you to physical therapy, to see my specialists for ruling out heart disease first, that's always cool. But then it always has to go back to what are we going to do for movement, activity, what are we going to do for mindful practice, calming, decreasing inflammation, and what are we going to do with that grocery? Where are we going to take it? How are we going to change things? That dynamic of those three things always are the staple or the legs of the stool to get you moving or to give you stability. So Sinatra has some good points. I'm not sure if that's really conspiracy versus really good intelligent arguments, but I think it's, if you read through the cholesterol myth, it gives you kind of a position and knowledge to, or at least encourages you to think outside the box. It's not just the numbers that we're going for, it's the lifestyle. So that's the old school guys. I think it's important to know, because you're going to run into other friends and neighbors and family members that have gone through this and have had some successes, some have had no success at all or temporary success. And that's okay too. We always have to applaud everybody for the great improvements they've made, but you also have to look at what made them stumble and try to avoid, work through their mistakes and try to avoid their mistakes and maybe come up with a plan. But that's what I'm for. If I am to see you and I'm going to be your head coach, I have to keep the other coaches, assistant coaches, all with the best strengths to make the sustainable changes for you. So anyway, onward. So information is really important. I think the newer information from today is important. I don't know if I believe in eating for the blood type, but great information, great read. Insulin resistance, again, glycemic index, glycemic load eating for polycystic ovarian syndrome. All these things are important. I think it's important depending on how you fared on your own with your attempts at diet already. Really good information if you have an issue with gut health. It's not really a diet book, but it gives you an idea about how food affects the gut, how gut affects the brain. In addition to the GAPS, I have the GAPS Diet over there, book by Campbell, but I couldn't fit it on my desk. You know, there's also been other doctors that have anecdotally done really well. Terry Walls is a lady doctor who had a diagnosis of MS. She's admitted to it. She even started her own foundation, and she reversed it. And this is a pretty easy read. Dr. Walls even puts down the basics of the 9 cups of fruits and vegetables that she wants you to eat and gives samples of them. So easy read. If you have MS, I would read this. Again, this is anecdotal. The problem with anecdotal is that you'll have somebody that has had success and they tout great results with their personal success, and they try to explain to you, give you their story, so maybe you can try the same trail or the same direction. Doesn't mean it'll work for you. I think if you look at the big picture, whether investing in a deep change is worth it, sometimes you have to see what the statistics show. And that's where science comes in. A lot of my GI guys, my gastrointestinal specialists, will like and agree with FODMAP's ideas. FODMAPs for irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. I think that's good information, kind of restrictive. I do not say that this is something you do forever, but it's at least a start. Just like the Walls protocol, I think what you might see in here, if it reverses your MS or reverses any autoimmune disease that you're coming up with, that's cool, but it always has to be reassessed. I'd say every 6 to 12 months, you got to reassess with your team. And just to see that we're on track, nothing else is coming up, or for me and the rest of the team to predict with the stressors or the changes of the dynamics of what might be challenging you in the near future, what we have to be prepared for. There's also, the spectrum diet. This is where science comes in. And the spectrum diet, Dean Ornish did show that there's diseases that reverse. And that's not argumentable. That you can't argue that there's diseases that can be reversed, mostly heart disease, with regards to following a mostly whole food, plant-based diet. He likes low fat. I don't know if I agree with low fat, but he showed reversal of heart disease and stenosis, so I think his information is great. And the pilot studies that Dean Ornish did are opening up to bigger studies, multi-million-dollar studies, but they haven't been released yet. Not that he has a personal protocol that he's designed, but I like the information that Keith Block came up with. He's a cancer doctor, integrative cancer doctor out of Evanston, Illinois. I've taken several of my patients over there. I think he treats patients as individuals, not as statistics. Doesn't matter if you get the nastiest astrocytoma that you're going to live only for a couple weeks with, he'll still give you the basics. He even told one of my patients before she passed away, usually it's not the disease that kills, it's the side effects from our treatment that kills. So I like the way he explains things in his book. He also gives some recipes, and he talks about a lot of supplements, gives a breakdown, so something worth looking into. Keith Block, you can probably order it online as well, or go see him. So I think I had a relative of mine call him from Hawaii and give him an idea about what he should be doing, or at least if he can come over, or if he can do a Skype kind of session. So these are all great things that our leaders in the past have put together for us. Trial and error in their cases made them so vocal that it gave us the bullets to apply to defeating disease. Again, it's those are frameworks. If you don't like to go through the conspiracy theories or the old school techniques, or don't like science, you can just go to the old school, really old school techniques of just seeing population studies. I mean, ultimately, Buettner, and I did this when I was on TV, Buettner came up with the blue zones. If you just step back and look at those parts of the world where people live to 100, easy enough. If they live to 100, they must be doing something proper. And there's 5 of them in the world, and it's great. This is a very nice read, but there's 5 of them in the world. If you kind of mimic them and what they practice there, maybe we'll get to 100. So the only way to get to 100 is to avoid disease. The only way that the over-sounding concept that was always passed in those 5 areas of the world, usually activity, family-based values, walking and being in nature, and then a whole food, mostly plant-based diet. So all that new school, old school stuff, it still points to this. Now, some people have asked me if I'm a vegan or vegetarian, and I'm not. I'm a semi-vegetarian. I like fish, I like some chicken, I like some egg. But I really adore my fruits and vegetables. My wife is a great Filipino cook. I think I know how to choose my fruits and vegetables when I go to the grocery. I know how to choose my meals ready to eat when I go work out, or when I take my patients hiking. So I think there's a lot of great value in making people change their lives with trying to avoid the crappy stuff, that's for sure. So as far as whether you go with cereal bar in the morning versus how many cups of fruits and vegetables, 800 grams, versus how much meat can I have in a week, versus should I be totally vegan or vegetarian. Again, the concepts of what you're going to follow, whether it's any of these guys that we just mentioned or your own path, it'll declare itself. So Occam's razor says that the easiest answer is always the answer. So out of all these authors, out of the multiple directions that you can take to make a lifestyle change, out of the multiple coaches that you can hire, get started, get your team together, try it. Don't call it a diet. Just try to nudge where your stuck point is by doing something different. Don't say, I know what to do, I just have to do it. If it was as easy as that, you would have done it. So whatever you know what to do, if it hasn't worked for you, you gotta get somebody else to reformulate that. That's not the way it works with sustainable change and practice. And if it didn't work for you to sustain it last time, it's probably not going to work if you do the same thing again. So I think if you get somebody to develop a team, I think your chances for sustainable change are higher. So whether you have to get off medicines, or whether you're just trying to avoid medicines and use your grocery store and your farmer's market has your medicines, I think that there's always help out there. But unless you want to read all of these guys on your own, come to one of us. And I think the doctors in integrative medicine are better. There's some very good nutritionists that are also out there, functional medicine doctors that are also out there. Seek these people out. Look at their credentials, and what I would probably challenge my doctors too, look at your doctors. If your doctors are overweight, that's not bad. Not that there's any problem with being overweight, but check out where they were before, check out their direction. If they're overstressed, if they're smoking, there are probably some issues. Maybe that won't be your best bet, but I really think that you have to have, if you're going to practice a lifestyle that you're going to teach to your patients, that we have to emulate it somehow. And I'm not perfect. I still have my medical diseases I'm trying to keep intact, and I have the ones that are coming up that I'm trying to postpone till I am 100, but knock on wood, that won't come for a while. But I am, you know what keeps me going? when I see these guys make their great changes, that gets me more enthusiastic about trying to get my message out. And this is the basic message. Call it a nutrition practice. Get a bunch of coaches. Get the advice. Do the reading that you can do on your own. Be skeptical about what you might see on the internet. Bring it to me, or shoot me an email on YouTube or on Facebook, and I can maybe give you my opinion, especially if you're a patient of mine already, or get on the portal for Advocate. But by all means, try to put the best plan together. Don't remain stagnant. If you remain stagnant, even if you have your diseases under control, even if the cancer is in remission, even if the MS is tolerable with your MS medicines, the blood pressure is okay with 3 medicines, cholesterol is flat, still try to chip away at getting off this stuff and being the best person you can be, whether it's weight, waistline, blood pressure number, tolerability, personality, tolerance, problem solving at work, new work, inner relationships with family members, neighbors, whatever it is. Try to keep on chipping away at being the best person you can be. And if you're not sure what that is, ask the team.